Iran's Supreme Court has upheld a death sentence against a 68-year-old Iranian-German dual national for the crime of what it calls corruption on earth. Journalist and activist Jamshid Sharmahd was sentenced to death back in February, accused of playing a role in a 2008 mosque bombing. His family says he is innocent, and the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has called on Iran to reverse the judgment.
For more than 2 years, German-Iranian journalist and activist Jamshid Sharmahd has been detained in Iran. In February, he was sentenced to death, and now the country's Supreme Court confirmed the sentence. His family insist he is innocent. They accuse the Iranian government of kidnapping the longtime US resident on a stopover in Dubai while on a business trip in 2020. And now they're worried.
He has no lawyer. He has no access to anybody. He has no access to his medication that he needs. He has Parkinson's. They don't give it to him on time. He has lost 40 pounds of weight. He has lost all of his teeth. We don't know if they've been knocked out or if they fell out due to malnutrition. We know they're torturing him. And now that they've tortured him for 2.5 years, they want to take away his life.
In a tweet, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has called the death sentence for Jamshid Sharmahd unacceptable and urged Iran to reverse the judgment immediately. She stressed that everything was being done for Mr. Sharmahd to prevent the sentence from being carried out. The German ambassador to Iran cancelled a business trip and is on his way back to Tehran to intervene with the Iranian authorities. But this won't be enough, Sharmahd's daughter fears.
We need our governments to show where their red line is. When their citizens are abducted and taken there and tortured, put through sham trials, and are about to be executed, what are they willing to do? When are they going to stop dealing with this regime and treating them like business partners? When are they going to do the right thing and work together with their allies to put pressure on this regime to stop them from doing what they're doing?
After the death sentence was announced in February, exiled Iranians called on the German government to increase pressure on Tehran. They continue to demand the release of Jamshid Sharmahd and several other political prisoners.
So as we just heard there, Jamshid Sharmahd's daughter says Germany is doing too little to help. I spoke to DW political correspondent Matthew Moore earlier, and I asked him what Germany has done so far.
Well, from the outset, German officials in Berlin have condemned in the strongest possible terms Jamshid Sharmahd's treatment, saying that he's not been given a fair trial at any point. And back in February, when Sharmahd was initially sentenced to death, Germany summoned an Iranian embassy official to explain that decision and went on to declare 2 diplomats persona non grata and ordered them to leave the country. And what it did so at the time, it cited what it called a massive breach of Mr. Sharmahd's human rights in justifying that expulsion. And they also sought to kind of ramp up the pressure on the regime in Iran. But so far, we've really seen the limits of diplomacy. And yesterday, when this confirmation came in from the Supreme Court, we heard that Germany's ambassador would then head back to Tehran to intervene in Mr. Sharmahd's case. But part of the problem is that Mr. Sharmahd has dual citizenship and Iran does not recognise dual nationalities. So as far as they're concerned, it's none of Germany's business. And obviously what worries Jamshid Sharmahd's family is that in January of this year, authorities in Iran executed a British Iranian man despite protests. And they naturally fear that the same fate awaits Sharmahd.
Can you tell us how the news of this death sentence has gone down here in Germany? Because, as you say, he is a dual citizen. He's a German citizen.
Yeah, there's been widespread outrage across the political spectrum. The head of the opposition CDU party, Friedrich Merz, as it happens, is Jamshid Sharmahd's political sponsor, meaning that he's giving support to Sharmahd and bringing attention to his case. And he expressed shock at the news and called on Iranian authorities to let Mr. Sharmahd, quote, come home to Germany. And there's a protest planned at the moment in front of the German Chancellery today with supporters of Mr. Sharmahd calling on those in power to do all they can to save his life. Human rights monitors say that demonstrations of support do have an impact on the regime in Iran, and we have to wait and see if that is the case for Mr. Sharmahd.
Matthew, so much. Matthew Moore, DW's political correspondent, thank you so much. I'm joined now by Pia Walter from the human rights group HàWAR Help. She's one of the organisers of a protest in Berlin in support of Jamshid Sharmahd. Thanks so much for your time today. Can you tell us what you are demanding from the German government today?
So we're demanding that the German government do absolutely everything in their power to make sure not only Jamshid Sharmahd, who's of course a German citizen, is freed from his incarceration, but also the 20 other political prisoners who are innocent individuals. There's no judicial process, who've been incarcerated since September 2022, since the revolution began. And we need Germany to stop economic relations and stop business partnerships with the Iranian government. Germany still has the strongest economic ties of any country with the Iranian government, and this needs to stop under these circumstances.
We've heard the condemnations of the death sentence from German politicians, such as the Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. But from what you're saying, these words are not enough. Do comments like this make any difference, though?
Comments and demonstrations and words, of course, they make a difference and they're important, but condemnations are, of course, not enough. Much more needs to happen. There needs to be a lot more transparency of what is happening, because the general public doesn't know what efforts are being made to have these prisoners released. And we're in the dark. All of us are in the dark. The families are suffering. They're going through torture day by day. They can't sleep. It's terrible to see. I mean, Jamshid has been in solitary confinement for, 1,000 days. That's incredible torture for a human body to have to go through. More needs to happen from the German government side. This is a German citizen.
Do you think that protests like the one that you're organising today, do they make a difference in terms of raising awareness and getting people involved?
Definitely. We need to keep the political pressure on this topic. I mean, the news media jumped on the topic last year when the revolution began, but slowly the media attention is starting to die down. And we, as an organisation, human rights organisation, HàWAR Help, it's our role to keep the media attention and keep the general attention on these crises and on these human rights abuses, whether it's the Iranian regime or other regimes that are committing human rights abuses.
Pia Walter from the human rights organisation HàWAR Help, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.